What is up, guys? It is Jacob from Quad Hunting, and before we get into today's video, I want to make a little announcement. This is a series I wish I would have thought of early in the football season, but it's going to be something we're going to start doing. It's not even a series. I'm just going to talk through this. It's a what we're going to do is I'm going to take questions from Lions fans and the opposing team's fans throughout the week, and then I'm going to take them on Twitter, Facebook, a couple of other sites I will link in the description, so that way if you want to ask any questions about the Lions, about Lions chances, something like that, about the week, or if you're an opposing fan and you want to get the Lions fans viewpoint, we can do that too. So if you want to get any questions, you can leave them in the comments, that kind of stuff, and I will read them off on the next video, and I will answer some of those questions as we preview the next opponent. So we're only guaranteed one of those, and that'll be against the Seattle Seahawks. I will have a video kind of describing what we're going to do maybe with that. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to announce that, but yeah. So if you have any questions about the Lions and Seahawks, go ahead and leave them in the comments here. I will link you to a spot on Facebook you can do it. I will link you to my Twitter account where you can leave them, all that kind of stuff. So we'll get into the video now, and this is the Lions-Packers Week 17 review. Welcome to Detroit. So good news is the Lions made the playoffs. The bad news is they still lost the NFC North to the Packers. They only made it in the playoffs because they got lucky with the Redskins losing to the Giants. The Giants already clinched the NFC East. They didn't have to play their starters. They could have played just their backups. Luckily, they played their starters, and they were able to beat the Redskins to put both the Lions and the Packers in the playoffs. So it made that Sunday night game with the Lions and Packers a little less significant, but it ended up still mattering because of winner won the NFC North. But it's just been a real disappointing last 3 weeks as a Lions fan. The Lions lost 3 in a row. They've backed into the playoffs. So they were at the time they were looking like they could have been legitimate. They were 9-4. Yeah, 9-4. My math's wrong. My math's dumb. They were 9-4 at that time going into the Giants game. They lose to the Giants. They lose to the Cowboys, and then they lose to the Packers to make them drop to 9-7. Still good enough for a wild card this year, which is beyond my expectations for the beginning of the year. I didn't think the Lions were going to be able to make the playoffs, much less have a winning record. I was predicting like a 7-9, 8-8 type year, as far as I'm concerned. I'll have to go back and check my videos from earlier, just the preseason predictions to see. But I didn't expect really a playoff run. I didn't think it was going to be that feasible with Calvin Johnson retiring. But it ended up helping Stafford. He was able to pass the ball around a little bit more, not just always have to, he had a safety blanket in Calvin, and that safety blanket usually was covered by 2 or 3 guys in the secondary, so it wasn't really that great of a safety blanket. But I will get more into the season recap in a later video after the Lions are out of the playoffs or after they win the Super Bowl. But the way they're playing right now, that's not going to happen. But so they lose to the Packers 31-24. It was not that close. It was it was a last-second Hail Mary pass that got the Lions within 7. Made it a little interesting there at the end that maybe they could get something going and get the onside kick, and maybe a Hail Mary opposite of what happened last year with Rodgers to Rodgers Hail Mary, the Miracle in Motown Hail Mary pass that won the Packers the game last year. But it didn't happen. They didn't get it. So overall, Lions defense was just awful. They were straight up awful. I can't find a redeeming quality about the defense, to be honest. When they could get pressure on Rodgers, it didn't matter because Rodgers was just able to run away from them, and the angles were not good. They were letting Ripkowski, a fullback playing running back, have a great game. Ty Montgomery didn't have a bad game. They went more with Ripkowski because of his blocking, and they knew Rodgers was going to be under pressure, but Rodgers took the pressure perfectly and just started running. We'll go through the defensive stats later, but offensively, there's some still puzzling things going on. It's like they come out hot in the first quarter. They're running the ball, they're getting all this rushing yardage, and the commentators are like, wow, the Lions haven't been running the ball this good all year. And then the second half hits, and they run it like 3 times the rest of the game. I know you're down, but you can't give up on the run game, especially when it's working for you at that point. So Stafford didn't have a bad game. It was in line with the Stafford game. He threw 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Interceptions have gone up. I don't know if you want to blame that on the finger. I don't want to sound like I'm putting the blame on the injury that he's throwing these interceptions, but I just don't think it looks right. I know the ball's still coming out in a spiral, but some of his throws that he's been missing lately, the long passes to Tate, and he was making those passes early in the season, so you can't tell me that middle finger is not hurting him and affecting his throws. But it's not affecting him to the point where you're going to bench him and put in a Dan Orlowski. He's still, even with a busted up middle finger, he is better than most quarterbacks in the NFL still. So he threw 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 347 yards. Zach Zenner has been coming out pretty well in the last 2 games against the Cowboys and the Packers in the first half. They don't give him the ball enough in the second half for him to have a chance at doing anything. He rushed it 20 times for 69 yards. He was the only running back to have any snaps in the offense. Both Jorik Bell and Dwayne Washington didn't see any snaps at not a single offensive snap. They only played on special teams. But like I said, they just give up on the Zach Zenner game in the second half, and then you just don't see them for the rest of the time. They come out really hot in the first quarter. They're putting up points. They're looking good. Same thing that happened against the Cowboys. The second half hits, and they just hit the brakes. I don't know what the heck going on there, what Caldwell's saying in the locker room, but something's up there. They need to figure it out, especially going into Seattle where they're going to need all the points they can get. Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, offensively, you look at these numbers, they look great. Golden Tate, 6 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. Marvin Jones, 5 catches, 76 yards. Eric Ebron, 6 catches, 61 yards. Bolden, 4 catches, 57 yards, a touchdown. Zenner had 4 catches, 41 yards. Even TJ Jones had a 35-yard catch. He did drop a couple that were catchable. Tate dropped a couple that were catchable. But, you look at these stats and you're like, wow, they had a great offensive game. Yeah, it's 69 rushing yards, plus Tate's 7. So that's 76 rushing yards. That doesn't look great, but it's better than what the Lions have been doing all year. It was consistent runs, at least with Zenner. You would look at this and go, wow, they looked like they had a good game, but wasn't so. Prater missed the field goal. He hits these really long ones over 50 yards and then misses one inside 30. I think not inside 30, inside 40. No kick is a guarantee kick. That should be obvious at this point. But he makes the really hard ones, the clutch ones, the ones where the pressure's on, and then misses these ones in the first quarter. So he's still a great kicker. I'm not dogging on him, but he did miss a field goal. So something needs to change with how he's kicking within inside 40 yards. But Sam Martin, I guess it was a good day. The punt coverage, it broke down on one. The kick return, it broke down on one, where the Packers were just able to get the ball into their end easily. Or was it? Maybe. I may be mixing up the Lions game with the U of M game I watched this weekend, but forget I said that. Defense had injuries, I know. Slay goes down again. They had to pull Ansah because he just wasn't playing well. But they couldn't do anything. Tavon Wilson is the only one to have a sack, and that was just he got in there on no one blocked him. Other plays, we had guys running free, and Rodgers was just able to shrug them off because they took bad angles. It was just a really frustrating game to watch, with Rodgers being able to take off for these 5, 10, 5-yard gains all the time. He's one run, 5 yards, next run, 9 yards. It was just really annoying watching that because the Lions couldn't do anything about it because they weren't coached to take the proper angles. Okay. Pretty much defensive line, yeah, they were getting pressure, they just weren't getting to him. And if we can't get to Rodgers, we're definitely not getting to Russell Wilson. He's more athletic than Aaron Rodgers is. So, it's just... But on the Packers side, pretty much the Packers couldn't do anything wrong. Rodgers had 4 touchdowns. Ripkowski, like I said, had 61 yards. He was the workhorse back. Montgomery came in and had 44. Rodgers had 42 yards on carries. Then you even had Christian Michael coming in. He didn't have a great game, 3 carries, 6 yards. But they were able to spread the ball around in this rushing game, and the Lions couldn't stop anyone besides Christian Michael. And when that's the only guy you can stop, you're kind of in trouble. And then passing game, you think Randall Cobb's out, okay. it's not a that kind of helps the Lions out. That's one less weapon for Rodgers. Well, Rodgers is just going to find another weapon like he did with Allison. He was able to 91 yards and a touchdown, and Jordy Nelson 66 yards. Jared Cook kept torching the Lions. That tight end problem that we thought may have been fixed, nope, that busted open again on us. 56 yards. Devontae Adams had 2 touchdowns. Ripkowski had a touchdown. It was just, we couldn't stop anything really with the Packers. The Packers were able to do whatever they wanted. We only forced, I think it was 1 punt, no, 5 punts, but it wasn't like, they weren't like huge like stops. They were able to get these long drives. It wasn't like we were getting them 3 and outs and then they were punting 5 after 5 3 and outs. They were driving down the field and then they had to punt. So it's just it's really annoying seeing this. You know, they're good enough to, you know, watching some of the games they played earlier this season, Stafford was able to light it up. If they played against the Packers like they did the Saints, this is a win. They killed Drew Brees in that game. Drew Brees had his worst game this whole season against the Lions defense, but the Lions defense had to resort to becoming the defense they were in the beginning of the year, and Rodgers was able to torch them. So they need to figure something out going into the playoffs against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Because we lost this game, we could have had the New York Giants coming in to play at Ford Field, but because we lost it, we have to travel all the way out to Seattle on the West Coast, and we have to play there. They have to play there. I'm not on the team. They have to play there. So, I mean, the only thing I saw that was okay in this game was our penalties. We had 5 penalties for 30 yards. Packers had 10 for 75. Some of them were a little iffy. I will give them that. You know, one of the false starts that should have. Well, Devin Taylor did move, but he never went into the neutral zone. That's just one of those plays. But Lions need to figure something out. Russell Wilson is more athletic. He's going to be able to escape the pocket better than Aaron Rodgers can. He's going to be faster at it too. He may not be the passer. He's definitely not on the same tier of passing as Aaron Rodgers, but the Lions need to figure out something because they can't let this happen again. So that's the video for that. That's the review. A little pessimistic, yeah, but we're on a 3-game losing streak. We're going to need all the help we can get going into Seattle. There will be a preview video for that. So, and also leave questions in the comments here that you want to see me answer about the Seattle Seahawks or about the Lions, what I'm thinking about that game. I will leave links for a Facebook page, my Twitter, and a couple of other pages where I'm going to be leaving this open for questions. So if you want to leave questions and all that fun stuff, I will leave spots for that. Otherwise, if you like the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave some comments, and I will talk to you guys all in the preview video. See y'all later.